Hey, gorgeous ones. I can't tell you how happy I am to be sitting down with you today to create our November plan with me. So lots of gorgeous little journal pages with you today, and I'm creating something a little different. Now, I know if you've been here a minute, you know that I love botanicals and I love kind of doing architectural bits and pieces and even people. But today I thought, you know what, I'm going to do some cactus. I'm going to do a little cactus garden. I'm going to explore a whole lot of different kinds of cactus and succulents, which I thought was kind of fun. And then I found this fabulous little quote too that I just feel is just so indicative of life, because at times it certainly is this way, and it's we grow when things are hard. And let's be honest, we do grow when it's the trials and tribulations of things that make us, I guess, decide whether or not we're going to fight for something, or if something's maybe just not worth our effort. So it makes us kind of have a little bit of clarity and think really hard about whether or not this is really so important to us. You know what they say, that wonderful things begin outside your comfort zone, and it really is true. You know, when we dig in our heels and we are super resilient and we push through, let's be honest, we're just so proud of what we accomplish when we do that. So this month is all about those things and about celebrating all the wonderful things that you do actually achieve, because I am one for completely forgetting to celebrate the wins and just start focusing on the next thing I want to accomplish. And then sometimes when I'm feeling, you know, really that I haven't accomplished all the things I wanted to do and I'm feeling a bit down, I look back and I think, you know what, I've done some great stuff, you know, in the last week, month, year, whatever it is. I think, you know what, I've done some pretty fantastic things. And I'm a mama and a wife and a friend and a teacher and, you know, all those things to all those people. And, you know, was I distracted from the studio at times or from creating at times because my children and my husband needed me? So was that not really a win? Was not where I should have been at the time? It would definitely be a regret if I looked back and thought that they needed me and I wasn't there for them. So I think that this one is one for me, but hopefully it resonates with you too. Just enjoying creating these. I put on a favorite movie. I'd been really busy on campus and just with life, so it was my little treat to myself, and I have skipped through a little bit here and there to make sure that I don't bore you to tears. But I actually began playing with a whole lot of different succulents and different cactus, and then I decided to create this cute little shelfie. And I'm showing you this one first because this is the first one I painted, not necessarily the first one I sketched. So I started with a prickly pear, a cowboy cactus, a cactus flower, a golden ball, and a succulent. And I really had quite a lot of fun sketching them and then drawing them and thinking about how they would look on paper. And of course, with my particular very loose style, you can see that this is featuring my favorite terracotta pots, a sweet little shelfie, and I'm actually going to print this one as well, so I'm going to create a printable for you, so keep an eye out for that. Hopefully I'll get that done and up for you immediately, but look for the link below. If it isn't up yet, it'll just say coming soon, so you can pop back as soon as it is. Otherwise you can subscribe and I would be ever so grateful, and that will let you know when there's any changes that are made and new videos uploaded. So you can see that I'm just switching out now to my original sketch, which was just playing with a whole lot of different kinds of cactus. So I'm actually going to do more of these. I'm going to do these little journal studies, playing with different kinds of leaves and flowers and all different kinds of things. So this was fun because I've never done cactus before, so this came out better than I thought it would. But then isn't that always the way when we actually just create with all our heart and just have a little bit of fun? And this is actually a favorite book, Mont sketchbook, and this is actually not watercolor paper. And that was because I wasn't intending to spend a lot of time on the watercolors. So this was an interesting way of giving myself that grace and reminding myself I'm going to add just a little bit of color and a little bit of highlight, and that is all. If I'm working with watercolor paper, I tend to spend a lot longer playing around with the bloom and bleed and that kind of thing. So this was definitely an opportunity to kind of dial that back and remember to keep it simple. I also love the way this card dries, and it keeps that kind of really beautiful burst of color, and it does dry faster. So I am working with a whole lot less water. I kept my colour palette super simple, just sticking with my sap green that I love and mixing that with a burnt sienna to kind of muddy it up and dirty it up a little bit so it looked just more natural to me, thinking that cactus obviously are in drier areas and aren't always going to be beautiful and green as such. So that was the sap green with a little bit of burnt sienna. I've used the burnt sienna and burnt umber in little pots, and then I've used a little bit of yellow ochre mixed in with those as well, and you'll notice that some of the cute little pots also end up having nice little ochre stripes and things like that. And I do create a weekly spread with you as well this month, and I do carry my theme on throughout, and I do use watercolor throughout in the same paper, as well as one of my favorite black cardstocks that I share with you a lot and always seem to be quite popular. I will link those for you below, so don't worry about that. I'm not going to go into the boring specifics, but it's always for you below in case that's something that interests you. And you can see that I have started with just a really simple sketch as well, a very simple pencil. Most of that will disappear either under the watercolor, or I will just rub that off in between once this is dried. And you will see me switch back and forth quite a lot this month, playing with the watercolor and giving it a chance to dry as I move from one page to the next. These little journal studies are also going to include a really simple color palette at the bottom, which I think is really fun. So you can see there the sap green, the burnt sienna, the burnt umber, the yellow ochre, and the quinacridone rose, which is the pink that it features in my cactus flower, which is sweet. Okay, so then I've switched over to my weekly spread here. Again, I'm keeping my little cactus. Again, just a really fun, simple sketch. I decided to add some little some bulbs, some outdoor lights there. It just feels like it has a bit of a carnival atmosphere to me, which was so fun. And I did play with some different fonts, a little bit of different topography with it this month, which was fun. So I used this nice wide fat lettering, and then I did use some of my my original calligraphy freehand that tends to be a favorite in my cover page, but I otherwise kept it quite simple with this, and then almost like kind of an American typewriter, old style vintage lettering as well, when I wrote down then the types of cactus that I use. So I'm going to try to do that more as well. I find that I limit myself, and I'm going to remind myself to just stretch a little bit with my topography and mix it up, have a bit of fun. So I hope that you do too. I'd love to hear what you think. And then I've come back in with my 0.2, as you can see. These are a Staedtler pigment liner. I could have inked first if I had been so inclined, because they are waterproof. So I could have added the paint afterwards, and you do see me do that. So if you watch any of my other videos, you'll see me do that quite often. But this time around, I wanted to play with the pencil sketches first and then come in with the ink and kind of be a little bit looser with that. leave a little bit of shadowing, a little bit of negative space, a little bit of the white of the page, that kind of thing. I did use this really fine liner. This one is very fine because I didn't want, when it touched the paint, I didn't want it to kind of be too heavy. I wanted it to have a nice light line. But I always find that working with my inks kind of quite freeing. And it's quite often on this paper too, using my watercolor, I get a little bit less obsessive about it being perfect and fussing with it too much, and then sometimes overworking it. So it does remind me to just be in the moment and have fun with it. And definitely is something that I need. It makes my brain happy, my soul happy, my everything happy on weeks when it's been pretty hectic and I just need a studio day and to kind of refill my cup. You can just see me switching my pad back and forth. You can see there's no rulers today. Quite often you'll see me with my ruler. No rulers at all this month. It's me turning my page on its side and just pulling my pen toward me. I wanted to keep it relaxed and fun. Obviously my cactus aren't too lifelike. They're more kind of just indicative of what it would generally look like. I'm hoping they look like cactus to you too. I've added some little ticks here and there to indicate little spines, but you know, not excessive. I don't want them to look unfriendly. Here you can see I'm just rubbing out some of those stray bits of pencil, and then I come back in with a little bit of paint and just darken some lines just to give some shadowing and a little bit more detail on my cactus. But you can see they're like kind of big fat bulbous kind of oval shapes, a pot that anyone can do, pebbles which are just the circles. Again, definitely no rhyme or particular reason. You could do these gorgeous little vintage outdoor lights. Honestly, anybody could do this. And then I've just come in with a little bit of additional paint and a little bit more strength in the sap green, so that you can see me dipping it into my palette above there. And then just off the screen is the actual half pan, so that I'm picking up just kind of the sap green in its truest form as well and adding a bit more depth there. And then I'm going to do the same in just a moment with the lights, and that they are just a true yellow ochre, no mixing or fussing with that. I will actually trim these pages when I'm done, so you can see I've kind of left a little bit of an imaginary border around there. My journal is just a little smaller than an A5, not a lot, just a little. So I do keep that in mind when I'm working, to leave that kind of little bit of that white border around so I can add a little trimmed edge. I will share a quick flip through on my Instagram and Pinterest and that kind of thing, so if you want to follow me, the links to all my socials are below, and I would love to hear what you think. If you're creating anything similar, I'd love to see if you link me so I can see and share on my page what you've created. I'd love to see that. And then you can see now that that's all dried completely. Always making sure to let it dry completely. Have a bit of patience, and then I'll come in and add a whole lot more detail. Once again with my pigment liner, and once again it's with the 0.2, so super fine. And really I just feel my way here. My pots are always kind of dirty, thinking how they would be out in the garden and weathered and sweet. And I actually added an additional cactus in here. I love this little kind of bulbous, fat shape. I don't even know what this one's called. Here's my stripy pot, which is going to be yellow and white soon. And then, look, I don't know if the cactus flower is part of this prickly pear. I just popped it into the pot because it's cute. So certainly nothing that is so specific, or I'm not getting too bogged down in it. It's more just that it was a fun project. And that's really what art's all about, isn't it? In our journaling, it's supposed to make us smile during the week and during the day when we're planning all the things we have to do ahead, whether they're things that are going to bring us joy or things that we have to do. So our journal definitely is supposed to bring us joy and be our happy place. And again, you don't have to share this with anybody. If you're creating art just for you, no one needs to go through your journal except you. So definitely make sure that you're creating art that makes you happy and that makes your heart happy, not what you don't have to share it. No one else has to see it. You don't have to please anyone else but you. And here you can see my quote. So I've used some of that nice short fat capitals in the grow when we're sorry, what am I going to say? Falling over my tongue. We grow when things are hard. I'll get it eventually. So I've used a mix of my fonts, and I've even added a cute little banner in there, so it's totally felt my way, and a little timber shelfie for all those pots and things to sit on. And just for fun, I decided to do kind of this hatched, kind of shaded finish. I wanted them to look kind of imperfect, I guess, like a little bit of a desert cactus, like it's been worn. So I just did these random little hatching and or cross hatching actually. So it's lots of lines in one direction and then lots of lines close together in the other direction. It's as simple as that. It truly, truly is. And I took my time doing it, so I've definitely skipped through that with you. But again, I did that with the 0.2 and the 0.3 just to have a little bit more depth. And then I left these little kind of heart arrowy cross cut out kind of situation. I am going to see if I can find a different white pigment liner that actually goes better over the white ink. The one I have works great on the cardstock, but it doesn't really come out over the ink itself as much. So if you have a suggestion and there's one that you use and that you love, do link that and let me know below, because I am looking for one as well. See, so always exploring new different mediums and different products too, but would love to hear what you think. Doing it a little bit differently this month too, because I skip back and forth painting because I've used watercolour throughout the entire journal this month. I don't share each page as I finish it because I keep going back and forth between the layering of paint and then the ink and etc, etc. So I've actually shared all the completed pages at the end. So if you're patient and you're watching through to the end, otherwise you can skip ahead if you would like to see how the page comes out at the end. This isn't a big video today. Well, it's 30 minutes, which for me is relatively short, and I am going to try to make them a little bit shorter just because when it comes time to all the editing and the voiceover and the graphics and all of those things, they do get quite time consuming. So I'm thinking maybe I should try to shorten them again and maybe have more videos. What do you think? Would you like to see that? As you can see, I haven't done anything fancy with the watercolor or even the inking this month. The little golden ball, because the design of it seems to have all these kind of little white spots that don't have too much color, and then the little spikes all seem to come out of those little spots. I was going to try using masking fluid, but then I thought, you know what, I'm trying to keep it loose and fun this month and not having, you know, too many moving parts. So I just tried to play with it directly with my watercolor and then my ink, and I honestly can't tell you how pleased I am how well it came out. So goes to show you don't need to overthink everything. You don't need to have expensive paper or expensive products in order to create something that is fun and definitely creative and definitely is going to make you smile. So we are all about being very budget conscious here on the channel because we are conscious that a lot of people don't have all that money to spend to be creative, and it can be really overwhelming when you're trying to be creative and watch a video and that everybody has very specific expensive brushes and very specific expensive paper. Watercolor paper can be incredibly expensive. So I think it definitely deters people. You feel like, you know, you're not going to start because, you know, you don't have the money to continue. Definitely use student quality paints. You can pick up an entire little tray of all different colors for, you know, like $10, and even less if you're in the US or in Canada, UK. Australian prices are quite expensive by contrast. And these pigment liners, again, you can purchase them individually or in packs, whichever, you know, whichever your budget allows and your passion allows. And as you can see, I keep my color palette quite small as well. So once again, you could buy their pans individually if you wanted to, or in a little student grade kit. You're not painting to last years and years and years. You could look back on it even, and if the color has faded ever so slightly, then who cares? Don't worry about super expensive products. But if you do have them and you know, you're trying to be a little bit more loose and fun, or just practice and whatever it is, I hope that you feel welcome here as well. My intention really is to create a community that is fun and empowering for everybody, and then it's all about, you know, creating that life you love. And now I've switched over to my favorite black cardstock. Again, like as I said, I've linked that for you below. Again, no rulers this month. You've been here a moment, you're like, what? Normally have my sweet little clear ruler out and I'm a little bit more exacting. Nope, this month it's all freehand. Turning the page around and pulling the pen toward me or just letting it flow. And you will see at the end if I decide I wanted to add an extra line here or join up something I've missed, or you can always go back in with a pigment liner and remove a little bit of your white and touch it up here and there if you feel it needs it. I have kept November 2023 really simple with that little kind of vintage typography, like a typewriter, and kept my days of the week and the dates, etc., in that nice kind of short, fat, squashed font. And again, of course, my cactus are here. And this is a Poplar pilot pen. white gel marker. It is fantastic on this black cardstock, but I don't find it works as well if I'm going over black ink like I did in my quote. So once again, if you have a pen that you would recommend that you think would be fantastic, let me know below. I would appreciate it. And of course, this is a dual page spread. I kept my boxes a bit smaller because I wanted to run over from last month, or from October where we are now, the end of October, all of November, and kind of overlap slightly into December as well. I do have a big month and I've been really busy, and I actually haven't been filling in the details as much in my journal, which is out of character for me in October. So this is going to help me kind of get back on track, because there's always so many things I need to look back on and recall when I did them. So for me, this isn't just something that I create, it's something that I use all the time. But see, even when you do this and you do this often, even then we sometimes get busy, or my journal's not where I need it to be at the time. When I need to write something into it, and then you know what, I forget a date like I did the other day and messed up an appointment time, and it was a little reminder to make sure that I am referring to that often, because it does do such a good job making me smile, but also organizing my life. Okay, so you can see that I've just gone back to my ink on this one. I have inked this one first, so just to be a little bit back the front. And I am actually going to come back in with my watercolor and color this. So you'll see both this month, both ways for me to do it. Lots of mixed topography this month, which I actually really like. I really definitely need to do this more. So I just called this one Cactus Garden. It just felt like it needed some more writing there. Lots of room for notes this month, and that's because, like I said, it lead up to Christmas, super hectic. Lots of people in the house, which I do love. I love having my children, and I love having a house full of them and their friends, and I've got more family coming. It's going to be wonderful. So I have got lots of room for me to write notes about what needs to happen in the studio, what needs to happen at home to keep everything running well. And again, you can see me adding that watercolor in as an afterthought. So as you can see, the pigment liner doesn't move, doesn't smudge, it's fantastic. You could, of course, done this with Copic. So if you're a person that's not watercoloring but prefers to use Copic markers, of course you could do this as well. It will be super simple. And finally, we're going to end with the finished page. And again, I've just realized at the very last second that I forgot to do my little page keeper. I'll add it in. It's not the end of the world. It will have cactus on it. It's a surprise. Okay, so you can see the final pages once they'd all dried and inked and all those things. And I want to thank you again for being here. Don't forget to hit subscribe and share with friends if you think they would enjoy it too. And let me know how your month's been, and share some work if you have an opportunity to create along with me. Thanks for being here, guys. See you soon.